Hey guys, okay, we're gonna look at our third concept for this week, and we're gonna talk about elements now. So remember that everything is made up of matter, and we have all our Lego creations that you guys made, and these Lego creations are models of real things, and the Lego that itself is matter, but also these are models of matter in real life. So now we're gonna break it down even further, okay? So we are gonna talk about the very most basic forms of matter. An element is the purest form of matter. And matter can be broken down into a single atom, or if you have many atoms that are put together, it becomes a bigger substance, but it can still remain in its purest form, which is an element. So an example of that is nitrogen gas. Here we have a molecule of N2, or nitrogen gas. And we know from our ecology unit that there is a lot of nitrogen in our atmosphere. And this is a pure element right here. There is nothing else, it's just nitrogen. Another example is oxygen, or O2. This is another example of a pure element. When matter is made up of more than one type of atom, it's actually called a compound. A compound is when two or more substances come together to form a substance itself. And an example of this is, well, it's salt, but here I just have another slide that shows some more molecules of elements and also some compounds. So it shows how you can have pure elements and compounds, which is made up, these are binary compounds, so they have two elements put together. And then we have the substance salt. Salt is a binary compound as well, and it is made up of two elements. We have the chlorine and the sodium element, and together they form sodium chloride, which we all know as salt. It's table salt. So this is a molecule of salt. And here is another example of a molecule or a compound. We have hydrogen and oxygen, and together they form water. And that is a very well-known compound and something that we all need every day for living. Okay, so there are 92 naturally occurring elements in nature. And then there are 26 elements that have been man-made in a lab. And these elements, these 26 man-made elements, were made by changing other elements into elements that already existed into another element. So it was manipulated by man in a lab. And these 26 elements, man-made elements, are not stable. All matter in our world and universe is made up of elements. Everything around us is made up of some combination of these elements, mostly the man-made elements. And you talked about the conservation of mass in ecology, just briefly. And we know that our universe is made up of a finite amount of mass and matter. And this is conserved. We see through the carbon cycle, through the water cycle, that mass is conserved throughout our whole universe, our biosphere. It can change form, and it can disappear. It can seem to disappear, but it's always there. It changes states and physical properties, chemical properties, but the amount of something remains the same. So that's an important concept to grasp that mass is always conserved. Elements were often named when they were discovered by the person who discovered them, and they were named in a way that represents one of their properties. Often the names of elements are abbreviated by chemists using letters of the alphabet. So, for example, oxygen is just known as O, and carbon is just known as C. Some symbols of elements represent the Latin name for that element. For example, gold is, the symbol is an AU, and it's named after its Latin name, aurum. Or silver is known as Ag, which is argentum. So these are the Latin names of those. So how many elements do you know? I think you probably know more than you realize. And just off the top of your head, can you think of some and can you name them? Ms. Jody taught us about several different elements in our ecology unit. And can you remember what some of these are? And we've already talked about several of them. So, can you remember the different cycles that you studied? These are definitely some of the most common elements, and we'll be talking about them more. And that is it for this week. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and I will be sending out the homework that goes along with these videos. You can watch them as many times as you need to, and yeah, I hope everything is pretty straightforward, and if you need help with your homework, let me know.